All right, so this is the unplug. This is the first section of the matrix. And what we're going to do is we need to make our matrix server template. We need to make our PROXMOX token. We need to set up all our IP addresses. We need to set up our VLAN. So that's where we're going to take care of all this. And then step by step, after this video, we'll go into deploying each resource and giving them their own project. So let's get into it. So we're in the main page of pfSense, and to make that VLAN, it's pretty easy. So you're just gonna click on interfaces and click on assignments, and then click VLAN, and then you can see I already made it right here, but we'll just make another one as an example. So you pick your your network output you want to put it on. So I can put it on my LAN, and then just give it a tag. So like this one, we'll give the tag 44, and then also just give it a name. We'll call this one. And then so now we have it right here. And then now we just need to go back to interface assignments. And then there's going to be this new one available. And then we'll add that. And then now we're going to go on this new one, enable it. And then I'm going to call it demo. And then we're going to give it a type of static. And then now we're going to specify the address. And then 24, that's what everyone's going to be used to. And then go ahead and save that. And then we shouldn't need to do anything else on that part, except now we want to enable the DHCP server. So you're going to go over here, click on demo, let's enable it, and then let's do an IP address range. So you can do whatever you want. Make it simple. This is where we're going to later set the DNS server. So we'll set like the 2 pi holes that we're going to deploy. And that's all we need to do. Hit save. And then that is good to go. So we can test this out. So let's ping 44.1. And it's alive. So that's working. That VLAN's all set up. And we're good to go. Later, we're going to set up some fire rules on it, but for now, our VLAN's set up and good to go. Alright, so now we're going to make our PROXMOX token, and to do that, it's really simple. All you do is click on Data Center, and then API Tokens, and then we're going to hit Add, select the root user, give it a name, and then uncheck privilege separation, and then you can expire it if you want, but it's just my environment, so I'm going to set it to never expire. And then now copy the token ID, and then over in our Terraform project, in this config.auto.tfrs file that we made, we're going to put all this information in over here. So copy that into there, copy that into there. We can remove that now, and then now we're good to go. Alright, so now we need to put that same PROXMOX token that we made in our Packer credentials file. So let's go ahead and grab it out. We can just copy over both those values. Boom. And then now both these files are set up. So you are going to have to create these because these are added to the git ignore. But these are just so you can run these commands locally and not have to remember where you're putting these. So just be aware of that. But yeah, now we're set up and we're good to go. So let's move on to creating the Packer template. All right, so now we're going to go through this Packer folder. So it uses this credentials file that we set up, just has your URL. Just replace this with your PROXMOX IP. And then in this matrix server, we're going to give the VM an ID of 800. And then call it matrix server, and this is just going to connect to our PROXMOX. And then I'm just going to give it 50 gigs. It's just for the template. I'm going to give it 4 cores, so that way it builds really quick with 4 gigs of RAM. I'm going to put it on the virtual machine bridge 1. It's kind of like our LAN. If you think of our pfSense, it's our LAN port. And then we're going to use cloud init, And then these are the commands. All you have to do is just find your IP address before you run this. So you can just say ifconfig, and then IM 10.10.1.173. So I'm gonna update that. Make sure you don't have any of these white spaces. Boom, and then just give it a username, password. You can add your SSH key for it to use authentication on. And then this is just gonna install Docker. It's also going to update the Sudoers file to allow us to connect with Ansible with no password. And then go to this user data. And then this is where you can add your SSH keys. So what we're gonna do really quick is generate an SSH key that we can use for Ansible. So let's do that really fast. All right, to make an SSH key, it's pretty easy. You're gonna say SSH, dash keygen, dash T, and then you can do just RSA, and then give it a comment, and I'm gonna call it KEYMASTER. And then don't save it there, save it right here and call it KEYMASTER. Boom, so now we have this new KEYMASTER key that popped up right here. And what we're gonna do is we're going to take this public key and add it to the user data. Oops. Boom. And then also go ahead and add your own SSH keys. I'm gonna also put this in quotes. And then so I'm gonna cat out. So I got my public one. I think it's already added, but I wanna just make sure. Boom, so now I got this key. So this is gonna add that to the server. So I'll always be able to just log in over SSH. It'll make it really nice. So add all your keys you wanna use there. Yeah, for like if you have a laptop, your desktop, and then we're gonna use this later. So just make sure you don't commit this key. All right, so I just kind of want to talk about how we're gonna set this up before we go into the Terraform. So there's gonna be two options. So the first one is this standalone version. And so you can just deploy one VM. I think I give it like 8 gigabytes, 4 cores. And if you want to just kind of run all these services on one, you can do that. Or you can deploy a VM for each individual one. So you deploy 2 for a Pi-hole, this backdoor load balancer that'll run traffic. This will run console, and then you'll have your HashiCorp vault, and then like just a container server that we'll put Portainer on. Or this will run it all containerized on the same one. But we're gonna put them both in the same network, and it's gonna kind of work this way. Like we're gonna access the back door and use that to access all of our services. So whatever you choose, it's just up to you. It's gonna be really easy. So you're just gonna go to this config file in our Terraform project. And if you want the standalone version, you just set that to true. If you want the different VLAN, a different gateway, like all this information, you can just change that all right here. So now to configure the users, you just go to the config.auto.tfrs and just set your matrix username and password that you want on the VMs. And then we're gonna kind of go through each module. So first, it's gonna deploy our servers. So if we go to our servers module in here, we're gonna see some of the information that you can set on here for the modules, inputs. And then the first one we're gonna deploy is the construct, and this is gonna be the first one. This is where we're gonna kind of have a container server that'll run Portainer. So on here you can set the IP address that you wanna set it to. I'm gonna set it to 5. You can, if it's standalone, it'll do 200 gigabytes. If it's by itself, it'll just give it 80. It'll give it 3 gigs standalone, or 3 gigs if it's by itself, and then if it's hosting everything, it'll give it 8. And then it'll always have 4 cores. And then you can change all these if you want. And then it's gonna deploy our vault. And then if it's standalone, it won't deploy any of these, but if it does, it'll give it 4 gigs, 4 cores. That was the recommended settings from HashiCorp. And then you can set your IP address here. Same thing for the mesh. Go ahead and set your IP address here and what network card output you want to put that on. So that's the servers. And then it's going to deploy our load balancer. and then that's going to be the backdoor. So you can set that here, the IP address. You can set, you know, the memory and cores you want to give it. This is just a simple traffic load balancer, so nothing crazy. And then for our DNS, it's going to deploy our pie holes. So just remember these IP addresses because that'll be important. And then let's see here. Yeah, so that's all described here in this matrix folder. So you can see all those modules and the order it'll deploy them in. And so let's go ahead and get those set on the settings that you want. Add your public SSH keys to this public keys folder. So you can add that KEYMASTER key that we made. So you would just go here, copy this one, and then you just need to do it to the public key, and then go to public keys, make a new one right there. So before we can actually run that, we need to log in, and the way we're doing that is we're using GitLab as a backend. So what you need to do is create a GitLab token, and then just get the project ID of your Unplug repo, and put your project ID in here, set these as variables, and if you want to do those in the command line, you can just kind of follow this format and say export, you know, GitLab underscore username equals, like I could do mine, B Henry Dev. Boom. And then so if I echo that out, I have it available. So go ahead and set those, go make a GitLab token. For the state name, we'll call it Unplug. Or actually we can just leave it like that, construct, doesn't matter. Name it whatever you want. I already have some state in there. And then what you're gonna do is CD into the IAC folder. So if I'm in there, I can see all my TERRAFORM folders. And then we're gonna reference the scripts init. Boom, so now the backend's initialized. I'm gonna say TERRAFORM plan. And then I wanna show you this plan. So I didn't do standalone, so it's gonna create all these VMs. But now, if I go here to the config and say standalone true, we'll run a TERRAFORM plan. Now it's only gonna add one. So let's go false. Let's deploy. I'm gonna do it a little more complex. We're gonna deploy each one. So TERRAFORM plan, it's gonna do it. Apply, auto approve. So now it's gonna go create all these VMs. And what we can do is look at our PROXMOX, and we can see it started to create those. So here's that first one popping up. So let's go ahead and let these run, and this is gonna generate all those virtual machines so we can configure them. All right, so yeah, now you can see they all got deployed and everything is good to go. All right, so we got that done. So now we have all of our resources deployed. So the whole first step's done. So whether you decide to do the standalone version or the multiple version, the next video we're gonna go over setting up the 2 pie holes and setting up our load balancer so we can have records. And we're gonna do over all the same principles. We'll use TERRAFORM and automate everything. So thanks for watching, and be sure to check out the next one and get ready.